Hello, and welcome to the Let Them Live podcast. I'm Emily Burning, your host, and also the president and co-founder of Let Them Live. We bring you interviews with unsung heroes and inspiring individuals who are in the fight to save babies, mothers, and fathers from abortion. Our goal is to amplify their voices and bring their stories to the forefront, shedding light on the incredible work they do and the lives they touch. This is more than just a podcast. It's a platform that allows everyone to share their pro-life stories and inspire us to passionately continue advocating for life. All right, guys, welcome back to another Let Them Live podcast. I am so excited for our guest today. Mason, aka Pro-Life Spiderman, aka Spidey, is here today. We're going to talk about just the coolest things you've ever heard of: scaling buildings, saving babies, helping moms, all the good stuff. So thank you so much, Mason, for joining me today.
Thanks for having me on, Emily.
Yeah. So why don't you tell everyone, because I think we're around the year anniversary that you kind of got like convicted to do pro-life stuff. So why don't we talk a little bit about that? Tell us your background, where you were with your pro-life beliefs. Did you have pro-life beliefs, and what changed that?
Yeah, so this is a year later. I climbed skyscrapers to raise money for Let Them Live and save babies from abortion. And it all started around last March is when I first got convicted. And I was sitting at home just on the internet when I saw some photos from the Justice for the Five incident. And for people who don't know what that is, this comes from an abortion clinic in DC. Some friends of mine were standing outside when a medical waste truck pulled up. And my friends had asked the driver if they could take one of the boxes home of the medical waste, is what they called it. But inside the boxes were over 120 babies, 5 of which were almost completely full term. And so they took these boxes back and they got photos of these babies who were just brutally murdered. And when I saw these photos, I just felt like I needed to do something. And being a rock climber, this is just a thing I came up with, was climbing skyscrapers.
I love that so much because it really shows that we can use our talents, sometimes in the craziest ways, to actually make an impact. And you show that by climbing buildings. I think I remember the first time I heard about you, I was like, what is this guy doing? It's so cool. But like, I was so scared, and I was so intrigued by you. You were like this like mysterious guy climbing buildings to save lives. And I thought it was, in your terms, super rad. So I was obviously also very impacted by the Justice for the Five. I think everybody was. I think everyone was shaken up by it. Just to talk on that a little bit now that it's been, a year since that was discovered. I mean, what do you think about the fact that nothing has been done? No justice has been given to them. Nothing has happened. Like, what does that say about our culture?
In my downtime, I've been making these historical videos. And the video I made yesterday was about Kermit Gosnell. And in doing this research, I just sort of seen just how different our culture was 10 years ago when the Gosnell case was happening. You've seen the leftist media, CNN and all these other mainstream sources, come out and condemn Gosnell and say, wow, this is horrible. And just as they would any other sort of serial killer case, they blew the story up into the story that it was. Here's this guy who's government sanctioned killing children. And we're not seeing that with the Cesar Santangelo Justice for the Five case, just because the left has sort of realized that any attack against abortion at all is attack against abortion as a whole. So they're not even coming out and condemning what this doctor is doing. They're trying to protect him.
Right. And it's so sad. And that's really where we're at with our culture, in the culture of abortion, just defending abortion at all costs. But really the effect it's having is just so devastating. But on the opposite side of that, we're doing something about it. And that's the biggest takeaway I hope people get from this podcast and this interview is that, like, if you're pro-life, do something about it, even if it's, might seem kind of out there. So what was the initial like feedback that you got when you climbed for the first time? Like, how did people respond? Like, this guy's climbing buildings to save babies. Like, what was the reaction?
Well, so the first one I did was the Salesforce Tower. And inside the Salesforce are all of the sort of liberal San Francisco employees.
Yeah.
And they all thought it was really cool. They were sending me the videos. They were, saying like, wow, this is crazy. And then they found out that I was climbing for the pro-life movement. And, they deleted all their messages to me. They deleted all the videos. And they just tried to like get rid of all the evidence that they ever thought what I was doing was cool. I guess as far as feedback goes from the pro-life side, you see some criticism as well. People thought it was just, silly or some kind of, self-promotion. But now the narrative's starting to shift. I think as my account's getting bigger, people are coming along and they're saying, like, wow, I guess he is starting to get an audience. There's more support coming, I guess. People are seeing the conviction and they're seeing that the babies that we're able to save by generating this kind of media attention.
Yeah, and it's so important too. And it takes time. When Let Them Live first started, we actually had, I would say, like, our main source of like backlash was from pro-lifers, which broke my heart. And they were just so doubting. They were like, this is not everybody. We had a lot of pro-life supporters, but our main like backlash was pro-life people. So it took time to build our reputation, to build up trust, to, show what we were doing and to kind of have those conversations. So I'm confident that with more time and with more opportunities like this, you'll be able to, continue to garner that support. I think that's super important because I had calls with a couple of donors and, they were kind of like, well, it's dangerous. And it's breaking the law, which I want to ask you about those questions. Those are your typical questions you get. But then I asked them, well, he actually saved a life, at least one life, by climbing this building. So I want to talk to you about that a little bit. Like, let's talk about the risk. Let's talk about the legal risk, the physical risk to you. What do you have to say about that?
I get a lot of criticism, but I always try to challenge people to just believe the words that they say. Because if you say you're pro-life, what you mean is that abortion is murder. And if you believe that, then what we're looking at is the greatest Holocaust in history. And I tell people, like, yes, my life is in danger when I go up on those buildings. Yes, I could fall. But wouldn't you want to do anything that you can and risk your life to save these children? And what I always say is we shouldn't fear anything. But the question we get asked by God, what did you do to save my children? Because again, like, if we believe the words that we say, we're looking at the greatest Holocaust in history, and we have to do everything we can to stop it.
Yeah. It comes with risks for all of us. I mean, and that's just us coming out of coming out of hiding, basically. And I've been there. I've done that. I've been someone who's like, I'm pro-life. And that's it. That's where I left it. But I didn't actually do anything. And so is it easy to climb buildings and give up your life and start a nonprofit and wonder where the next donation is going to come from? No, it's not easy. These things are not easy, but that's not what we're called to do. We're not called, it's not supposed to be easy. We have to take the next step. And for you, it's the next climb.
Yeah, like that's I guess an aspect of cheap grace. It's one of the words Dietrich Bonhoeffer used to describe the churches that were existing during Nazi Germany. And it's this idea that Christianity is supposed to make your life better. But you read the book of Acts, the apostles, they went around from city to city being stoned, being arrested, thrown in jail, and beheaded. And it's like, well, if you're doing Christianity right, it actually makes your life a lot harder. And that's what I try to model after is the Book of Acts. These
That's so
apostles who
true.
were going city to city, spreading the gospel.
And you're literally going city to city. Tell me all the places you've been and all the buildings you climb. People ask me all the time, and I'm like, I can name off a few. I just keep forgetting because there's so many, and I'm sure many more to come. So tell me where you've been.
Yeah, so I've climbed 7 so far. Did the Salesforce Tower in San Francisco. Then I did the New York Times building in New York, and then the Renaissance Center in Detroit, the Devon Tower in Oklahoma, the Ritz-Carlton in Los Angeles. I've done the Aria in Las Vegas, and the that one was for COVID. That was years ago. And then what else was it?
The Arizona
Yeah, the Chase Tower.
Chase Tower. Which one was your scariest one? And maybe there's different like factors that make it scary. Or are you even scared at all ever?
I don't really get like scared because whenever that sort of feeling starts to happen, I just try to think about why I'm doing what I'm doing, and I think about the lives that we're saving by doing this, because not only are we raising money for the woman that we're adopting through Let Them Live, but every time I climb these buildings, it generates an enormous amount of media attention.
Yes.
And women, they see and they hear about Let Them Live, so they end up calling in. And last time, after climbing in Arizona, we had a woman who saw the climb, a story about me climbing on a Reddit thread. And they ended up calling in to Let Them Live to cancel their abortions because they read a Reddit thread.
I love that.
And so I just think about that and just the lives we're affecting. So I'm never really scared, but
maybe a better question is like, which one was like physically
yeah,
most taxing on you?
So the hardest move I've had so far was the start of the Renaissance Center in Detroit. And it's these little panels, I don't know, they're maybe about that big. And you have to do this sort of mantle. So I push down, and then I had a hand-foot match. So I brought my hand or my foot all the way up on my hand, and you just stand up really fast. And I sort of botched the move at first, and I had pinched the corner of the building, and it was just, credit card thin, like sheet metal. And I was gonna try it again because I'm right on the ground, but I looked down and I was over a glass roof. And so I was like, well, it's really going to be the same impact whether I jump down or fall, so I might as well go for it. And of course, I stood up, and everything after that was really easy. But that was the hardest move I've encountered.
Okay.
But the hardest building so far has been the Chase Tower in Phoenix. And that one was hard because the moves itself were quite simple, but when you stack them all on top of each other, they were just very physical.
Yeah.
And it took a lot of endurance. Towards the top, my knees were kind of shaking, my legs were exhausted, and so you just had to shut your brain off and keep fighting and just keep climbing like you would outside on rock.
I have a fear of heights, and you see buildings and you're like, oh, it's not that bad. But then when we get that like bird's eye view from your GoPro, that's when I'm like, whoa, okay, he's pretty high up.
The GoPro scares me sometimes too. I'll get a little adrenaline rush whenever I watch the videos, just because it takes me back.
The part that really gets me is you pull your phone out, and you've done this on like almost every climb, so that you can go and post on Instagram or whatever. And when I learned that, I was like, all right, fine, he's crazy. This is nuts. Because especially the Chase Tower, because you're supposed to be, you had to like crawl up, like this, and you're just posting on your phone. Like, what is that like? I mean, is it just like another day at the office?
Yeah, I try to like act like it is, but like as far as the phone goes, it's kind of comforting just checking your phone for some reason. I think it's just that little bit of dopamine hit that you get, and also when you're on your phone, it feels like you're not alone up there. When I'm outside climbing on rock, there is, I guess, this group of people who like to do what's called rope soloing. So they'll climb buildings roped in, but alone. And I don't like that. I think misery loves company. And so when I'm on my phone, I just feel a little more comfortable.
Yeah, yeah. And what's more dangerous? Because I've heard people saying, "Oh my gosh, why doesn't he just go climb rocks?" But maybe like dispel some lies here. Like let's talk about the truth of it. Is it safer to go climb on rocks like people say, or is it safer to climb on these buildings?
So it really depends. I've done a lot of soloing this last winter out here in Red Rock. And I mean, some of those solos that we're doing were way harder than a lot of the buildings I've done. Most of the buildings, honestly, aren't that bad. Like there's maybe a couple moves thrown in. Usually there's a hard move at the bottom around the skirt of the building, and then maybe a hard move at the top. Like the Devon Tower was probably in climbing grades 5-7, which is a very beginner climbing grade. It's to me, it's like a ladder. But when I got to the top, there was like a 5-11 move thrown in to get from this sort of crown feature onto the actual roof.
Yeah.
So that was a little tricky. And, you look at the Chase Tower, I'd say the Chase Tower is comparable to a real rock climb. I mean, I really had to push on that. But overall, soloing on rock is so much more dangerous because there's just more variables. Every
Sure.
move on rock is different. And so you're deciphering how you're going to climb as you're climbing. Whereas on the building, it's the same move usually from the bottom to the top. Now that has, I guess, other difficulties involved because you're using the same muscles. And so some buildings like the Sears Tower, when it really gets into that crazy height, my buddy Alon, he climbed the Sears Tower in 99. And I mean, he worked the same muscles from the bottom to top with zero rest. So I think that's one of the greatest athletic achievements of all time, let alone just, climbing achievements.
Absolutely.
It just depends. But the ones I've done, way safer.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and it's not only a statement, because if it was just a statement, it wouldn't have as much impact. This is actually raising money to help women, help them cancel their abortions and save lives. And so, what are your thoughts when someone says this is a publicity stunt and, you're only doing it for attention and, you're costing the taxpayers so much money, to have the fire and the police come out. Like, what are your thoughts on that? I mean, I have my thoughts and I'm ready to share, but I want to hear your thoughts first.
I'll say that it is a publicity stunt, but it's not a publicity stunt meant to raise awareness for myself. Honestly, I don't like being on camera. I am very worried of coming on a podcast very tired and making myself look silly. So I would rather not do it.
Yeah, I get
This
that.
is like the difference between, I guess, like something you're called to do and something that you really want to do. But I look at, I guess, the consequence of not doing something like this. And because we're going out and we're climbing these buildings, we're able to save lives. And so it's something that I guess that I'm called to do. I again, like I really don't like going on TV. It's really hard. But I'm happy that I get to, because I get to see the lives that are saved.
Yeah.
As far as the tax dollars go, I always just say, Planned Parenthood gets over $500 million a year of our tax dollars that go towards murdering children. And so why is it that I get criticized for using the fire department? I just don't think life should have a price tag. I would rather the fire department not come out, just because I've never really needed them. But again, I don't think life should have a price tag. I think, our unborn children are worth a lot more than what we value them.
Yeah, I think that's perfectly said. What is a life worth? When you think about it, think about Let Them Live, for example. We have operating costs. We have cost of, making sure that we have staff and we have printer paper and we have, just all the little things that absolutely cost money, but it's for the purpose of saving lives. Every cost we have is a necessary cost so that we can save lives. And it's the same thing where you think about, when you climb, there's going to be costs associated with it, and you kind of factor it in. And one of those costs is probably some taxpayer dollars. But like you said, when we look at it, like that's kind of insignificant, when we're thinking about what's actually on the line, that a human life is on the line.
Why is it that the fire department is willing to spend so much money trying to save me, but not an unborn child? Is, I guess, the answer I'm trying to say. It's like, what is a life worth? They've clearly assessed that the life was worth all of what they spent.
Yes. No, that's so true. That's so true. So, okay, you're climbing the buildings, you get to the top, you finish. What happens? Like, I know what happens. A lot of us know what happens, but let's talk about what happens next.
Oh, yeah. So I get to the top and I always have the police waiting for me. And it's always an interesting interaction because, on one hand, the police have to arrest me. But on the other hand, they're always super impressed. And so it's never like, oh, you dirty criminal. It's always like, whoa, dude, that was really cool. Good job. Now turn around. And so, yeah, it's
Yeah.
what I do rides a sort of legal line because there's no law that says you can't climb a skyscraper. They just never thought of it. And so it's always this sort of legal line of trespassing. But in most states, for trespassing to work, someone has to come out and warn you. And it's kind of hard for them to do that when you're 500 feet up the building. And so usually the police, they'll take me to jail for, a few hours, and then they'll let me out, and everything usually gets dropped in court. So it's never a big deal. But, a lot of people are scared to go to jail. But honestly, again, like I read the book of Acts and I just feel inspired to use that time to evangelize because, here we are, we're called to be fishers of men, and jail is the fishing hole.
Yeah.
You can really make a difference.
It's a big
there.
lake with all the fish, right?
Yeah. And so one story I like to tell a lot is they'd throw me in jail in Oklahoma City. And I'm sitting there, and it's just this filthy jail. There's feces on the ground. There's bugs everywhere. It's just the dirtiest one I've ever been to. And I was talking to the guys about Jesus and about abortion and why I climbed these skyscrapers. And a few weeks went by, and I got a call from Nathan, your husband, and he said, "Mason, a woman just called in to let them live. And she said that her boyfriend met you in Oklahoma County Jail and they want to cancel their abortion." And it was just this awesome experience because I got to talk to this person in jail. And because that interaction happened, little did I know that they were going to have an abortion, but we were able to cancel their abortion, all from being thrown in jail for climbing a silly skyscraper.
I think that's such an amazing story. And that's probably my favorite story that you have that I tell people that are kind of like naysayers or want to distance themselves from what you do, because it really shows that lives are being saved, and if you stop doing this, like you had mentioned, like, what are the consequences if I don't do this? So many people are focused on like what happens when I do this, but what if I don't do this? You never would have met him. That baby would not be alive today. And again, it goes back to what is one life worth? And to anyone who has been, either against what you've done, Mason, or, kind of towing the line of, I'm not really sure, maybe not. I think that this is important for them to hear, because I don't understand how anyone can be against what you do when you compare what's happening to preborn children versus, climbing a building and some of the consequences of that. So I think what you do is very brave. And it's weird saying that because people will say that to Nathan and I'm like, it's not brave, it's what we have to do, right?
Okay.
It's what we're called to do. So what do you feel about that when you're told like, this is so brave of you, you're so wonderful? What's your response?
Yeah, I mean, I feel the same way that you feel about Let Them Live. It's just something that that I was called to do. And the goal is, I guess, to just inspire people to go out and do the same, and just, again, like, believe the words that they say. Because, again, if we believe that abortion is murder, then we're living through the largest Holocaust in history. There's nothing that we shouldn't do, really. I mean, obviously, you shouldn't do evil so that good may come. But as far as like risking our own lives and taking these sort of risks, there's nothing that we shouldn't do. And
Absolutely.
so I don't think I'm brave. I just see this problem, and I felt called to go
Yeah.
out and try to stop it.
Get your spidey senses going. Um, so why Let Them Live? Like, how did you find Let Them Live, and what was it that made you say, like, I want to help this organization?
Yeah, I found Let Them Live on the internet. I was Googling a bunch of pro-life charities. And what I really liked about them was that they help these women who are in a crisis. There's nothing bad that you can really say about Let Them Live, because at the end of the day, they're paying for these women's rent. They're helping them with their medical bills. It is just truly this act of love. And so what happens is you see women come to Let Them Live who are in, I mean, just these horrible situations, and then they leave Let Them Live. Usually they've been job counseled, they've been just helped through this crisis. And so they're truly better off at the end of the process. And that's one of the things I just loved about Let Them Live most, was it's so hard to criticize them, because there's nothing bad. There's nothing bad you can say about it. They're helping people.
I love that. And we have pro-choice donors too, which it just adds to that point that you made. Like, how can people be against this? Like, helping women. I mean, a majority of women are having abortions because of that financial burden, and to relieve that burden gives them the opportunity and the choice to choose life, which is so beautiful. So I'm just so grateful that you climb for us. Are there any other organizations that you want to give a special shout out to? We love partnering with many pro-life organizations, and I know you do too. So I just wanted to give you a second to shout out some of the other organizations you work with or you know, support.
I'm loyal to the grave. Let them live all the way. Yeah, I guess. Yeah, I've been volunteering lately. There's a pregnancy center here in town called First Choice Pregnancy Center, and they're very busy. Last week, I actually got to witness an abortion pill reversal, and
Wow.
it made my hair stick up, because this is truly a life saved. It was a life, like, had they not been there, this baby would have died. And it was cool to witness. I had no idea how often that this abortion pill reversal was used, but
Yeah.
apparently at First Choice it was once a week, and I think
Wow.
that's truly amazing. But that's the
Yeah.
cool thing about Let Them Live, is that they partner with pregnancy centers like First Choice, and it's not just this one solution to ending abortion. It's a bunch of solutions coming together and working together as a unit, as a movement, as a whole. And I think that's one of the things that most other pro-life organizations are missing, is they start to get competitive with other people. And when that happens, it takes away from the movement. Whereas Let Them Live is willing to partner with people like Live Action. They're willing to partner with survivors and all of these pregnancy centers. And I think that's awesome.
Yeah. Well, we love
But
it.
loyal to the grave.
We love it. Well, me too, obviously. And we love everything that you do, Mason. We've loved it from the very beginning. We, have supported you, and just keep on climbing. And I know that you won't necessarily be able to say when/where another climb will be, but is there generically another climb coming in the future?
Hopefully soon. We're working out a court case in Phoenix, but
Oh,
that's
that's
going to be
right.
wrapped up here soon. So
That's
hopefully,
right.
in the near future, we can get
Okay.
back to saving babies.
Well, so many prayers for you on that. Thank you again, Mason, for being on. If you want to donate, oh, you are going to be going on a speaking tour. Is that correct?
Yeah. This fall, we're going to be going around the country and speaking at churches. So if you would like me to come speak at your church, just contact Let Them Live, or contact me on my Instagram, prolife.spiderman, and I will put you on my schedule.
Love that. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited for that. If you want to donate to help with the expenses of that tour, you can donate online at letthemlive.org. If you want to check out any of our fundraisers that we run for specific moms, you can also do that, letthemlive.org. And you can find us on our social media, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, TikTok, et cetera. And we will catch you on the next building, Pro-Life Spider-Man.
Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, no problem, Mason. We'll talk to you soon. Thank you for joining us on today's episode of the Let Them Live podcast. I would like to give a special shout out to Patrick at Moon Shadow Studios for doing such an amazing job of editing our podcasts. Let Them Live is a Christian nonprofit dedicated to supporting women who are considering abortion primarily due to financial burden. 73% of women have abortions because of financial struggles, and we're here to bridge that gap. Our goal is to provide the emotional and financial support women need to feel empowered to choose life. If our cause resonates with you and you're interested in learning more, getting involved, or making a donation, please visit our website at www.letthemlive.org. One amazing way to contribute is by joining our Heartbeat Club, where you can become a monthly donor, and your ongoing support will ensure we can continue helping women every single month. You can also follow us on social media to stay up to date with all the amazing stories and ways that you can be part of our mission. We are on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Threads, Facebook, and Twitter. Just search for @letthemlive.org, and you can also find me on Instagram @EmilyBurning. Thank you once again for joining, and please join us for more upcoming inspiring stories and conversations.
This episode of the Let Them Live podcast was produced for you by Moon Shadow Studios. Put your podcast in good hands today and take advantage of our special first-time client discounts by visiting moonshadowstudios.biz or by following us on Instagram and Twitter @Moonshadow Studios.